Bookies New and Used Books is a supporter of WXAV 88.3 FM and WXAV.com. Located at 10324 Southwestern Avenue in Chicago, Bookies offers a selection of new and used books with orders available for books not currently in stock. For more information, visit their website at bookiesbookstores.com.
This is a WXAV 773 Sounds podcast, introducing you to the best local bands in the Chicagoland area.
And we're back here on 773 Sounds. I'm your host, Peter Kreten, and I am really excited for this next band that we're going to sit down and talk to. They're a local folk and bluegrass band from the north side of Chicago that on their website, they have this great description for their sound, for their band, and it's this. In the heart of Chicago, there's a band playing the songs of summer all year round. And like their namesake, this little band makes a big sound. Inspired by bluegrass, Irish folk, and other folk music traditions, Cicada Summer brews up a warm acoustic blend of tunes spiced with just a pinch of city flair. And with that, joining me now is Cicada Summer. Hi, how's everyone doing? Can we kind of go around and get an introduction?
Hey, Peter. Sure. Mark, why don't you start?
Hi, Peter. My name is Mark Hamada, and I play violin in Cicada Summer.
Awesome. I'm Caroline Sinikowski. I sing and play the tin whistle in Cicada Summer.
Hey, Peter. My name is Alec. I play mandolin and banjo and mostly guitar with Cicada Summer.
And I'm David Ryan. I play mandolin and guitar.
Welcome, guys. This is so exciting. I think we got to kind of go back to the beginning and just kind of, how did Cicada Summer start? How did you guys come together?
Sure, Peter. Alec and I were both music ed students at DePaul.
Mm-hmm.
We were 1 year apart, so outside of a few classes together, that was sort of the only context we saw each other. And it wasn't until we were in grad school a few years later that we sort of locked eyes on day one orientation. And through Facebook, I was aware that Alec was dabbling in strings and learning mandolin and guitar. He knew I played violin, and we both had a mutual love of the band Nickel Creek and Chris Thiele. So over lunch, Alec pulled me aside and asked if we could try to go through a couple of Nickel Creek tunes. And that became a regular thing, little lunchtime jam sessions. After a couple weeks of that, he folded in his then girlfriend at the time, who was Caroline. And the three of us, for a couple years then, it was just the three of us all playing together. And Alec, I'll let you talk about how David came into the mix.
Yeah. And I want to add to that too, Mark, because Caroline was my then girlfriend and she's my now wife. And I think that's worth mentioning. And then the other thing that's so funny about that, Mark, is you and I would jam during our lunches in grad school. It was an intensive program, and we literally had 20 minutes to eat lunch and play some tunes. And one of the photographers for the school snuck out into the park where we were playing during our lunch. And to this day, there's a picture of Mark and Alec on the vandercook.edu website. Come to Vandercook. This could be you playing during your 20-minute
lunch break.
Nothing to do with your classes.
Yeah, it had nothing to do with classes.
I really hope that you guys are getting some royalties then from that photo.
No, funny thing. Yeah, we're really.
I assure you we're not.
Yeah, we're really in the red from that transaction, I think. But then David, ever since David came, we really just bonded together, not only as musicians, but as friends. And it all started, we all like to play a lot of Irish traditional sessions, which I guess you could kind of call them a pickup group, even though it's really not a jam session. You'll come together usually at like an Irish pub, and you'll kind of fit into the form of traditional Irish music. Well, one of these down in Lincoln Park at the Galway Arms, which is one of our usual haunts, there's this guy kind of with a haircut similar to mine, playing a mandolin that sure was a lot similar to mine, and was even signed in the exact same place by the one and only Chris Thiele. And basically looking across the circle, I didn't really get a chance to talk with David, but the music kind of did a lot of the talking. And needless to say, we hit it off very quickly. It's like, you love the same music that I do. Let's make some of that music that we love. And that was 8 years ago. Here we are.
That's amazing. And I love the whole connection with Nickel Creek and
Yeah.
Chris Thiele and everything, because I am such a fan of Punch Brothers and all of his like solo works and everything. But I find it interesting because you don't like find a lot of people out in the wild where it's like, folk and Americana, like that's my jam. So has everyone here always been fans of folk? Like, how did you kind of discover it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure all of our stories are a little different. For me, I kind of just grew up in the environment where
Mhm.
my dad was just constantly playing music. And I grew up playing classical music, played piano and trumpet, but he always had like the Chieftains, Van Morrison, Paul
Mhm.
Simon, like all sorts of folky things playing. And that I think in hindsight really got in there more
Yeah.
than I maybe thought in the moment. And then coming to Chicago and kind of connecting with Alec and the folk music scene, it really just felt very natural for me. But yeah, I know, David, you've had such a folk upbringing.
Yeah, I was really fortunate that the public school I went to had an alternative string program as part of their string education. So it wasn't just Suzuki violin, classical music. I was intent on playing the saxophone. And then in my 5th grade open house, my orchestra teacher and his 2 daughters were in the hallway playing fiddle tunes. And I just thought it was so energetic and fun to hear. And the way they were interacting and smiling with each other just really kind of captured my interest. And Bob Phillips is his name, and he built a whole string program around teaching kids to learn by ear through folk music.
Oh, wow.
So I grew up kind of in a public school string program that incorporated folk music into the curriculum. And then toured with a high school ensemble. Imagine like a travel soccer team with cowboy hats, and then played a lot of bluegrass and some, Irish and Celtic music, and got a lot of great experiences out of that. So I'm
That's amazing.
a product of public music education, and will always champion the importance of music in school and how it can create a lifelong love of music and a desire to create it.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I mean, you're the prime example of why we needed to fund music and the arts in public school education.
Yeah, and Peter, I should say, David's being very humble. Like the group was called the Fiddlers, and it's toured all around the country. They played at the White House. It's
wow.
This was a serious group that David was a part of, and it's why what are you going on 20 years of playing mandolin and folk music. It's really great to have David on our team. I'll tell you what.
Yeah, I can believe it. Now, a few years ago, back in 2022, you guys released a really wonderful album called Heartland. And it's this great balance of like the modern folk sound of like, Thiele and the Punch Brothers, I'm With Her. But then you have the very traditional bluegrass sounds to it as well, too. Can you kind of share like your approach of like, how do you approach writing a song? Like, do you go kind of melody? Do you kind of just let your fingers find out where you're going to go? Like, how do you approach writing a song?
For me, I think we all have a different process, but I start with like the story that I want to tell. And most of my songs, especially we have we're recording new songs for our second album, and they're all kind of based on life experiences I've had or kind of versions of life experiences I've had. So I think thinking about those experiences of like, oh, this would make a really good story. And then kind of picking apart like which pieces of the story I want to kind of have the listener visually imagining in their head while they're listening to the song, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then I kind of write and record everything on my phone like a crazy person. I type everything in notes and I'll like be recording something on a voice memo, like whispering it in the corner. Just whenever the ideas kind of strike me, I write it down and then I'll kind of hack it out on the piano. And then I kind of give it over to the boys here, and, Alec, the guitar, and Mark and David all kind of help me with the arrangement. So it becomes a very big team effort in the end. But yeah, that's kind of how I go about it.
Yeah, mine is similar to Caroline's, where I'm more of like an ice sculpture. I basically start with a big block and then slowly start to whittle things away. And then I pass it off to the band and they help me whittle even further. And before you know it, you got some sort of ice sculptured unicorn or whatever it is that we made together.
Yeah, and I think the question about traditional versus progressive is an interesting one. I think all of us love paying homage to that traditional music, but also really enjoy listening to other artists who are building on the tradition and adding new creative interpretations to it. And obviously, we've been inspired by a lot of bands that already do that. So I think we love having something that has that heart and soul of that old music, but then injecting some of our own ideas and inspirations into that storytelling.
Thanks, Peter. I really love the question of, what comes first, melody or lyrics? For me, I really like writing with both in mind, in tandem. And I think it's a constant process of one informing the other. Depending on the song or the moment, one element might come before the other. But usually it takes just one of those elements to really lock in for me to feel really inspired. I think it's often like the opening line of a song or the main riff of a song, and that will kind of inspire the rest of it from there.
I kind of love how you guys have your own individual spin on how you approach songwriting, but then you all come together as a group. And that's got to be a really fun process, because as I was listening to Heartland, it just kept popping into my head going, man, they're having fun. Like listening to the album, it's a fun album. Like I can hear the smiles as you're playing, as you're singing and everything. I mean, how much fun is it just for you all to get together and be like, all right, we're jamming tonight, or we're going to go to this venue and we're going to play.
Yeah, I mean,
we were talking about
a lot
that.
of fun.
Yeah, we were just talking about that last night. How I think, Al, you said you want people to hear that we're friends first, musicians second, but hopefully that energy gets injected into the sound and is evident when if you come see us play. And we certainly do a lot of instruments lay around our respective homes, and when we're hanging out, we happen to pick them up and see what happens. And so, obviously there are times when, as a band, we rehearse with intention and say, hey, we're gonna prep for this gig and we got this material to bang out. But then there are a lot of times where it's like, hey, I had this cool idea, or hey, I learned this tune, will you learn it so we can play it together? There's a ton of that feedback. And I think part of being in a really rewarding band experience is having musicians that you're excited to get together and play with, and having musicians who push you technically and creatively. Certainly, I know we feel that way.
Yeah, and have like a safe space to try new things, and everybody supports you. It's
I can believe
really
it.
special.
I was going to say, Peter, you might already know that the folk scene here in Chicago is pretty tight knit, especially in the Irish scene. It's like when you play all these sessions, you basically know everyone who's on upcoming albums. If you don't know them, you know someone who knows someone. Like you're always 1 degree separated from sometimes your musical heroes, and those people very quickly become to be your friends. Because you're all speaking this same shared language that only a few % of people here in Chicago speak. And then you find like, oh, all of a sudden you're going to each other's weddings. it's like there's a very special connection that happens in that community. And I'm really proud to say that I just get to play music with my best friends, and then we play across the city. And none of us have to be here, Peter. We all have day jobs, and we do this because we like to and we love to. And it makes me so proud to hear that you say that it comes through in the album.
It's true. I mean, just listening to it, and it's one thing that I always love when I listen to folk music is just you hear the band jam, and you hear the band getting into a flow, and you hear the fun on the album. And as a listener, if the band's having fun, well, I'm having fun too, because it's just infectious and everything. Now, you kind of mentioned previously you guys are working on your second album now, correct? How's that coming along?
We're making progress. I think we've got about 5 tracks recorded, maybe not mixed fully yet. And then we're actively in the process of writing a few more new songs and tunes that we're chipping away at here. In fact, we were working on one just last night here. So we're really thrilled to be making progress. We've slowed down a little bit, maybe from our original intent. Mark had a second child. I've had 2 kids between our last album, Heartland, and
congratulations!
Thank you. And it's a wonderful and creatively inspiring experience, but it does slow down your recording and songwriting ambitions sometimes. So
well, they all kind of corresponded around that great cicada emergence we had not too long ago. All of a sudden, cicadas are procreating everywhere. Yeah.
It truly was a cicada summer.
Yeah.
But I'm really excited for people to hear what we've already recorded. It's really exciting.
There's a great mix of new original songs. Alex got an original song. Caroline's got several original songs. Mark's got an original song and a banging Dua Lipa cover that we're really excited about.
It's going to be a really fun mix for this album.
I cannot wait to hear that cover. That's going to be phenomenal. Now, this is something that's really cool. Speaking as a Southside Cubs fan, you guys over the summer got to actually play Gallagher Way outside of Wrigley Field. What was that like? What was the response and everything? I mean, it just had to been, I'm assuming we're talking with Cub fans here. What was that all like?
It was really magical, you know, and we got invited as part of the Old Town School of Folk Music's Folk Happy Hour series. You know, really honored to be a part of that and be involved with such a great organization. But that's just such a special venue. You know, we snapped a photo outside the big Cubs marquee.
Yeah.
Nice.
And you know, kind of
had to get the picture.
Yeah,
album cover.
But yeah, it was just so great to have friends and family, and then so many members of the community come out, especially when it was so hot.
Yeah, I was actually worried nobody was going to come because it was so hot, but it was the opposite. There was just a great turnout, and yeah, it was really magical.
Oh, that's so wonderful.
Something that was really special to me there, Peter, is, you know, kitty corner to the Cubs, to the Wrigley Field, is the Cubby Bear, which is a venue in and of itself. And it was there about almost exactly 10 years ago where I was playing a show. And Caroline and I reconnected at that show. And here we are about 100 yards.
Unofficial first date.
Yeah, exactly. 100 yards and a decade later, I would not have imagined, like, oh, yes, I'll be playing right across here with my wife 10 years from now. And my
that really sounds like you got some like rom-com like potential going on there.
It was a good full circle moment.
Yeah. So if anybody wants to license us or Cicada Summer,
for a story.
Well, speaking of, if people want to check you guys out and follow you on socials, you know, what's your website? What's your socials for people to follow you?
Yeah, you can find us online at cicadasummerband.com, on Facebook and Instagram at Cicada Summer Band, you know, and we'll be trying to share the progress that we're making on the new album along with where we're playing. Right now, we're kind of pulling back a little bit. We had a really fun, engaging summer with a lot of music, but now we're kind of turtling up and working on some of that songwriting and recording process.
Get back in the studio.
Yeah. So if you check there,
Nice.
So if you check there and you don't see a whole lot coming up, that's why we're kind of focused on making some new music to share with everybody. But we'll definitely be posting where we're at and what we're doing on there.
You know, I only got a couple more questions left for you, but I kind of want to go back to something we were talking about earlier, and that was inspirations. I don't think people realize the rich folk tradition that Chicago has, you know, with the Old Town School of Folk Music and John Prine being from the city. I mean, even bands like Wilco and everything, they really bring that modern folk sound to, you know, the mainstream musical audience. If you're meeting someone and they go to you and say, you know, I really like folk, but it's such a daunting genre to get into, who would you recommend I check out? Who would you recommend? It can be modern. It can be, you know, more traditional, older style. You know, who are we going to go around and check out? I want to hear everyone's response. So Mark, I'm going to start with you.
A good question.
If you had to recommend anyone, who are you going to recommend?
Peter, ask Alec. ask Alec first. Yeah. Peter, I should note, I'm in Schaumburg and I live in Schaumburg. I'm a little disconnected from the Chicago scene. I did grow up in the Chicago area. We don't have to get into whether or not Schaumburg's part of the Chicagoland area. Alex should answer first, though.
Okay.
Thanks for that pass here, Mark. Peter, I think the best way that I can answer it for myself, we live about half mile from the Old Town School of Folk Music up in Lincoln Square. And they have become such an institution that I'm so proud to have close to us. They have curated folk music, not just the American tradition, but folk music from around the world. It's like the German word for people. It is the music of the people. And that just doesn't mean from Chicago. And so when we think of folk music, yeah, we draw a lot of stuff from Ireland and Scotland and the British Isles. And then also you're going to find that when that came over to the States, 100, 200 years ago, there's a lot of crossover tunes and songs that then was down in Appalachia. So we're getting a lot of those things. And so if I were to recommend to anybody, just pop on the social medias, type in folk music, and all of a sudden you're going to find the same ingredients are flowing everywhere. It's like, oh, you play Temperance Reel? Oh, this guy plays Temperance Reel. Oh, John Prine has a recording of that song. And all of a sudden you're going to find the Venn diagram is very wide in the middle of all of these overlapping folk traditions.
Who'd you pick though?
Oh man.
I want to know.
All right. If I had to pick, there's a specific album that the Chieftains did where they invited folk musicians from all around. I could look up the name of the album in just a second, but it has Punch Brothers on it. It has all of these top performers in their own respective things, and they all come together via the Chieftains. And that is really just, for me, just a conglomeration of everybody who's big in folk. And so if you follow that as your roots and spread out in those branches, you can't go wrong.
That's a great choice. Chieftains are phenomenal.
For me, I'd say try to find music that makes you want to dance to it or that resonates with you emotionally. It's I think less important about, whether it's old or new or whether it's, traditional or progressive. You want to find something that makes you dance. So for me, the bands that really energized me growing up were bands that were playing traditional music, but with a really progressive spin. I was a guitar player. And so I didn't just want to hear, 1 chord, 4 chord, 5 chord, boom chicka guitar picking parts. I was playing guitar, so I wanted to hear some wild and creative stuff. So bands like Lunasa, bands like Soulless, bands like Fluke, all kind of in that Irish scene, really, really inspired me with how creative their arrangements were. So it wasn't just like the creativity was in the melody, the creativity was also a conversation between the rhythm section and the melody players and introducing different ideas. So those were kind of ones that were big to me. But specifically in Chicago, if you want to get out and see some folk music, again, Old Town School is an amazing venue.
Yeah.
For all kinds of traditions, and just go see a show. Go to an Irish pub, find out if they have live music. Alec mentioned the Galway Arms where I met the two of them. They have live music 4 nights a week. Just go and listen and see what resonates with you. And if you like something, say, hey, what was the name of that song? Or what was the name of that tune? If you're a player, listening is the best way to learn.
Yeah.
And get involved.
I think I would recommend Abigail Washburn, any of the projects that she's done, like Sparrow Quartet, Woo Force, I think it's called. Yeah. But I think for me, I remember going to see her live. My parents took me to a concert when I think I was in like early college. And it was just like mind blowing. It was the Sparrow Quartet. And I just think recommending other people to listen to her, she just has like this Americana voice that's so iconic and nobody comes close. So just to kind of hear her singing, and obviously her banjo playing is incredible too, but she's just such an inspiration for me vocally. And I think I want more people to listen to that kind of music, that kind of Americana-esque. It just captures everything for me in music. And I think I would also recommend like Nickel Creek, Decemberists, like some more modern, like fun things to get people hooked in. Yeah, to get them hooked in. So that'd be my answer.
Peter, I think before we pass over to Mark, I don't know if we've shared, but a lot of us have backgrounds in classical music. Like Mark obviously is a violinist and a fiddle player. He's also a practically a professional jazz pianist. He has a degree in jazz piano. Caroline has a degree in classical trumpet performance.
That's amazing.
That was my instrument all the way through. And I'll just speak for myself, but folk music for me turned into a musical life raft where after doing for a couple decades this classical music that was very, I would call it strict and stringent with tradition and rules, and sometimes even a little just kind of became socially a little competitive.
Yeah.
To find a community of folk musicians who weren't about the competitiveness, were about sharing the overlapping elements. It's like, oh, you don't know this tune, like David said? Let me teach it to you. Let's come together, because the more tunes we all play together, the more fun we get to have together.
Yeah.
And that to me was a very opposite experience,
Yeah.
even after having been classically trained for all these years. It's
Yeah.
just a breath of fresh air. And that's what's keeping me doing it after all.
And the
That's wonderful.
collaboration element too, like we can write something and collaborate on it, and it's, we're all doing it together, and it's not a competition. It's different in
Yeah.
a good way.
So I'm here with Cicada Summer. Thank you guys all for coming and joining us and talking with us. I have just one final question for you all. For those of you who have never seen Cicada Summer live, how would you describe your live performance?
That's a fun question.
That is a good one.
I think for us, Peter, first of all, thanks for talking with us. It's just so nice to talk music with folks who are equally passionate about it. For us, when you come to a show, I think you're going to be surprised at the amount of electrification that, even though we are at our core, we're an acoustic quartet, we have a couple tricks up our sleeve. For example, like we run the guitar through an octave pedal, and that creates our bass.
Okay.
And so we use a shocking amount of electrical equipment to take our show kind of to the next energy level. We have a little Roland foot pedal called Stompy, and that gives like this real thick, bass kick sound. And that's our goal for a lot of these songs. It is a lot of dance music. And so we use those tools to amplify our energy, run them through a lot of signal processors, make them as rich and pure and energized as they can. So we can hopefully get folks, toe tapping and
and to get that bigger sound too. Like we're only 4 people, and our description of the little band.
We don't have a drum
sound.
kit. We don't have a drum kit. We don't have a
so-
bass. So we use some of those electronic tools and technology to thicken the sound a little bit.
Yeah.
As part of our live performance.
I don't know if you would necessarily know that if you were just walking by and listening. You might not know what's happening behind the scenes. Yeah. And I think if you would have come, like we said, we've been playing together for like 10 years. If you would have come to our early gigs, we did a lot of like covers and, more traditional stuff, which we still do a lot of traditional stuff. But obviously now we have a lot of our originals, things we've written, or we are doing some sort of cover like the Dua Lipa. It's a more like thoughtful arrangement that's, for our band specifically. So I think that's just kind of been a really cool element for me as being in the band, is being able to play these originals and like seeing the reaction to this be really positive. Like we played a gig last summer at a festival, and I had been posting stuff and like tagging on the band Instagram, and someone messaged and was like, oh, that one song, and they described what it was about, and it was a song that Mark had written. We recorded it. It'll be on our second album. And they were like, where can I listen to it? And it just felt like so special that people hear the original stuff and they're not just tuning out. They paid attention to what it was about. They want to hear it again. So that's another reason I'm so excited for the music we've recorded for this second album to come out, because I know it's just so exciting.
To Kara's point, it's always really magical to see audiences sing along to the music that you've written.
Yeah.
It's a special feeling of musical reward.
Or requesting a specific one that is on the album or something. It feels...
It's got to be
really
powerful.
good. Yeah.
It is.
Because it's something you created. It came out of your head and your heart, and you touched the soul of another human.
Yeah.
So,
Totally.
Well, Cicada Summer, guys, this has been so much fun. I could keep going, but you guys got to head on off. Again, if you could just give your socials and your website again so people can go and check you guys out.
Yeah, absolutely. You can find us on Instagram or Facebook at Cicada Summer Band, and then our website,
cicadasummerband.com.
Thank you for listening to this WXAV 773 Sounds podcast. For more information on 773 Sounds, please visit our website, wxav.com.